Welcome to Heart Over Gold, the channel where love, kindness, and humanity shine brighter than any fortune. In today's story, in the heart of London's high society, Clara Reed's life was about to be shattered. 7 months pregnant and married to billionaire property mogul Julian Vance, Clara believed she had it all. A fairy tale life with a beautiful country estate in Surrey, a penthouse in Mayfair, and a future brimming with luxury. But when Clara accidentally stumbles upon an email revealing a dazzling diamond necklace meant for another woman, her world crumbles. The necklace, engraved with the name Serafina, was not for her, but for Julian's secret mistress. Devastated but determined, Clara decides to fight back, not with tears, but with a cold and calculated revenge. With the help of her friend Naomi, a private investigator, Clara embarks on a path to uncover the full extent of Julian's betrayal and secure her child's future. What follows is a thrilling tale of betrayal, secrets, and a wife's ruthless plan for justice. As Clara navigates the luxury and deception surrounding her, she discovers that Julian's empire is more fragile than it appears. With every piece of evidence she gathers, Clara's resolve strengthens, and soon she'll make sure Julian pays for the pain he's caused. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, and keep up with our latest stories. The wife of a billionaire discovers the ultimate betrayal, a betrayal that unleashes a storm of retribution so intense that it sends shockwaves through London's elite circles. Pregnant and devastated, Clara Reed uncovers a shocking truth about her husband Julian Vance when she catches him buying an extravagant necklace. However, it's not for her, it's for his secret lover. What unfolds next is a sequence of events driven by fiery vengeance, making this a tale of karma like no other. Before we dive into the intense unfolding of this saga, hit the like button. If you believe betrayal should always come with consequences, subscribe and make sure you turn on notifications to follow this unforgettable journey. Clara Reed, 7 months pregnant and at the peak of what she thought was her dream life, stumbled across an email. The subject line, "Your purchase at Mayfair Jewels is ready." Clara, curious, opened it and saw the words she never expected. Julian Vance had purchased a dazzling diamond necklace. But it wasn't meant for her. As Clara's heart dropped, she realized that this gift was intended for another woman, a woman who had captured Julian's attention. Clara's world shattered in that moment, but rather than crumble, something ignited within her. What if this betrayal was just the beginning of something far more powerful than she could have imagined? Clara had always believed in fairy tales. Even as an adult, small gestures of kindness made her heart flutter. This idealism was why she had fallen so deeply for Julian Vance, a self-made billionaire who owned some of London's most prestigious properties. He was a man adored by the public for his philanthropy and polished charm. Standing tall and exuding confidence, Julian was the perfect catch. 2 years ago, they tied the knot in a lavish wedding adorned with rose gold accents and sparkling chandeliers in the Cotswolds, promising each other a fairy tale future. Now, pregnant with their first child, Clara had everything she had ever dreamed of. A beautiful estate in Surrey, a penthouse in Mayfair, and the financial freedom to travel wherever she pleased. Julian's empire was thriving, but Clara had begun to see cracks in the facade. Red flags had been appearing for months, though she had chosen to overlook them. Julian was away on business trips more frequently, supposedly tied up with projects in Dubai and New York. His phone rang constantly, but he always took those calls in private. And there were the faint traces of an unfamiliar perfume on him when he returned home late, something he brushed off as a hug from a partner's wife at a social event. Clara, trusting and kind-hearted, accepted his excuses. Then, one afternoon, Clara noticed a shift. Julian had left his tablet unlocked, a rare occurrence for someone so protective of his privacy. As she waited for him to come downstairs for dinner, an email pinged on the screen. The subject line caught her attention. "Your purchase at Mayfair Jewels is ready." Clara's mind raced as she opened the message. It read, "Dear Mr. Vance, your personalized diamond necklace is ready for collection. Platinum chain, 2-carat center diamond, engraving, forever in my heart." Her stomach dropped. The engraving didn't sound like something Julian would choose for her. If it had been for Clara, It would have read something like, "My shining star." No, this wasn't for her. It had to be for someone else. Clara decided not to confront him yet. She needed to know the truth before making any accusations. The next morning, Julian left for a business meeting in London. Clara stayed behind, pretending to sleep. But the moment she heard the door close, she jumped into action. She would go to the jeweler herself to see if the necklace was for her. As she drove into Mayfair, her heart raced. The jewelry store greeted her with its opulent facade, and a well-dressed man guided her to the personalized piece. She barely kept her composure as the velvet box was opened. Inside lay the most stunning necklace she had ever seen, but it wasn't for her. The engraving on the diamond read, "Serafina, forever in my heart." Clara's world crumbled. Serafina, the name of her husband's mistress. She felt the floor beneath her feet disappear, but she quickly composed herself. She knew that if she caused a scene here, she would lose her leverage. After a brief moment of silence, she managed to whisper, "It's beautiful. I'll let him collect it." She turned and walked out of the store, fighting back the tears. With her heart shattered, Clara staggered to a quiet corner of the street. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was the start of a plan for revenge. Her child would need her strength now more than ever. The story continues with Clara deciding to take action, contacting her old friend Naomi, a private investigator, to gather evidence against Julian. Clara's quest for justice becomes a silent war where every move is calculated and every piece of evidence sharpens her resolve. Would you act immediately to confront the one who betrayed you, or would you quietly prepare for a much-needed revenge? Share your thoughts in the comments. Simultaneously, she confronted Julian with a written ultimatum. She wanted a post-nuptial agreement granting her full custody of their child, substantial financial compensation, and ownership of the Sereri home. 2 days later, Julian came home furious. He brandished the sealed envelope. "What is this? You're threatening me." "I know about Serafina Hayes," Clara said, her voice steady. "I know about the Mayfair jewels necklace. I know about your nights at the Savoy Hotel. I have pictures, Julian." For a moment, Julian was pale. "You've been spying on me. I've been protecting myself and my unborn child. You left me no other choice. I want you to sign this agreement granting me everything I ask, or I will release the evidence of your affair to your partners, your family, the press. Your choice." Clara pressed a manila folder into his hands. Inside were the documents detailing the planning fraud. "You're blackmailing me," he whispered. "I'm giving you a choice. Make me whole or face the consequences." That night, Julian refused to sign, storming out of the house. Hours later, Naomi messaged Clara, "Julian's at Serafina's flat." But they had a massive fight. She kicked him out. Something about money. Clara felt a grim satisfaction. Serafina was a gold digger and had smelled Julian's possible downfall. The next morning, Clara found Julian asleep in the living room, his tie loosened and suit wrinkled. "Do you have no idea what you've done?" he said, his voice husky. "My investors are pulling out of a major development. They heard about legal irregularities, then signed the agreement." "You're trying to ruin me," he shouted, hitting the countertop. "You already ruined something far more precious. Our marriage. Do you want to talk about destruction? What about what you did to our child?" Just when she thought the drama would stall, Clara Era received an unexpected call. "Hello, is this Clara Reed? It's Lady Helen Vance." Julian's mother said, "Why are you calling me? I thought you'd want to know what Julian is doing. We had a fight. Your husband told me he was leaving you, that you were a frigid, controlling woman who only married him for his money. He said he wanted to start a new life with me. Then I found out he had lied to me about half his promises. Now I smell his business is in trouble. If there's a way to sink him together, I'm in." Clara, though she didn't trust Serafina, realized how twisted Julian was. His plan to discard her and deny his child was real. As a final act of pressure, Clara decided to involve Lady Helen Vance, Julian's mother. Lady Helen, an elegant woman, adored Clara. Clara told her about the affair, the necklace, the hotel visits. Lady Helen listened in silence. I cannot believe he would do this. You are carrying his child. How could he be so heartless? Lady Helen straightened. He is my son, but I will not excuse his behavior. If you need me to stand by you, I will. I will not let him ruin your life or my grandchild. In the following days, Clara's plan reached its climax. She emailed Julian the ultimatum with copies of the photos and the documentation. The response was swift. Julian returned home. We need to talk, he said, sounding defeated. I'm listening. I'll sign. But I need you to keep everything a secret. I can't lose my company, my reputation, I'm begging you. Clara pulled out the document and pointed to the signature line. Sign. With a trembling hand, Julian signed. A strange pang went through her. A part of her had loved this man. I'll have my lawyer file this, she said. If you fail to comply with every term, I will release everything. He nodded. Understood. Julian gently took her wrist. Clara, She pulled away. Don't say anything. It's too late. You should have thought about your family before you decided to stray. Though Julian signed, the tension was unbearable. Rumors began to circulate in social and business circles. Investors pulled out. Julian's empire began to wobble. Serafina Hayes, for her part, vanished into the shadows. One afternoon, Clara was in the nursery folding baby clothes when Julian walked in. He was pale. We need to talk about finances. My accounts are frozen. The leaked information about the permits triggered a federal investigation. Clara, I'm losing everything. You should have realized how precarious your position was before you broke your vows. I know I deserve this, but what about the baby? Our son shouldn't suffer from my mistakes. I have taken steps to protect the baby. I have the post-nuptial agreement, the choice of grace. In the final weeks of her pregnancy, Clara decided she did not want Julian in the delivery room. The idea of him holding her hand was repulsive. Her mother-in-law, Lady Helen, advised her, remember, the baby will ask about his father someday. How you handle this moment could influence your son's sense of belonging. A few days before her due date, Clara's water broke. Alone in a panic, she called Naomi, who drove her to the hospital. She did not call Julian. Lady Helen arrived shortly after, holding her hand. After hours of labor, Clara gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The moment she heard his cry, the world shifted. She named her baby Arthur. Julian burst into the room. He must have heard from Lady Helen. Clara turned, shielding her baby. You were not invited, she murmured. Julian stood staring from a distance. In the following days, Julian's empire collapsed under legal scrutiny. He lost major deals. Media reports hinted at the fraud. His name became tainted, a symbol of billionaire arrogance. Clara, with Edward's help, filed for divorce. The post-nuptial agreement secured her a substantial settlement. She kept the Sereri estate and sufficient funds for Arthur's education. One evening, Serafina Hayes' name resurfaced in the news. Apparently, she had sold her story to a gossip magazine detailing her affair and providing photos of the Mayfair jewels necklace. The article painted Julian as a libertine who neglected his pregnant wife. The public scorn was complete. Clara focused on motherhood. The heartbreak lingered, but her son's smile was a balm. When Julian visited Arthur, he was a shadow of Theman he had been. Humble, silent, almost broken. Almost a year after Arthur's birth, Clara was sitting on the lawn watching her son toddle around. She realized her marriage ended in betrayal. But it gave her the greatest gift, her son. The scar of betrayal was a reminder of her own strength, her capacity to overcome, and the fierce love she had for Arthur. Her revenge had been brutal, yes, but it was also a means of survival in an unexpected storm. And from that storm, she had emerged stronger. With a future she could mold on her own terms, the final brutal choice. Clara's life flourished in her new stage. Her interior design studio, called Renaissance, had become a recognized name in Sereri's high society. Arthur, her son, was walking steadily, and his laughter was Clara's favorite sound. Julian, however, sank further into the shadows. He complied diligently with visits to Arthur, but always arrived with an air of defeat, a ghost of the arrogant magnate he once was. Julian is suffering the consequences of his karma. Do you think financial suffering is enough? Or should Clara maintain a mission Dean's forever? Share your opinion on the limit of revenge. One cold autumn day, Clara received an unexpected call. Mrs. Reed, I'm David, the cafe owner near Julian's old flat in London. Clara tensed. Yes, is something wrong with Julian? Well, Mr. Vance hasn't been to the cafe in 2 days. That's strange because he comes for coffee and to use the Wi-Fi every day. Today I went to his apartment. He's sick very bad. He has a high fever and couldn't even lift the phone. Had tried to call an ambulance, but he asked me not to. He only mentioned your name, Clara. He said you were the only one who could help him. The news hit Clara like lightning. Her first instinct was indifference. He brought this on himself. He has friends. He has family. But immediately she remembered Lady Helen, Julian's mother, who had supported her unconditionally, and she remembered Arthur, the child who would someday need to know that his mother acted with honor, even towards his father. Clara made a quick decision driven by a sense of moral duty, not love. She left Arthur with her trusted nanny, got in her car and drove straight to the airport for the next flight to London. Arriving at Julian's small, messy apartment, the smell of sickness and neglect assaulted her. She found Julian in bed, pale and sweaty, delirious. It wasn't a simple flu. It was serious. Without a second thought, she called an ambulance. While they waited for the paramedics, Clara looked around. The place was depressing. On the nightstand was a framed photo of her and him on their wedding day, next to a photo of Arthur. On the back of the wedding photo in Julian's handwriting was a phrase, "The day I had everything and lost it all to my own stupidity." A pang of pain, a mix of pity and sadness struck her. She no longer felt fury or the desire for revenge, only a profound sorrow for the man he had been and for what he had lost. His punishment was living with the memory of the destruction he himself had caused. If Clara's decision to help Julian has moved you, show it with a like and leave a comment about the power of grace. Your support helps us explore more complex stories. At the hospital, Julian was diagnosed with a severe infection. He was unconscious for a day. Clara stayed by his side, not as a wife, but as a guardian, ensuring he received the best care because he was Arthur's father. When Julian finally woke up, his eyes met Clara's. They were filled with weakness and surprise. "Clara, what are you doing here?" he whispered. "I brought you to the hospital. You were very sick," she replied, her voice devoid of emotion but firm. "I thought you had erased me from your life completely," he said, his voice breaking. "I deserve that." "I didn't do it for you, Julian," she said, not looking away. "I did it for Arthur, and I did it for myself. I am not a person who leaves another to die regardless of the circumstances. My peace does not depend on your suffering, but on my own conscience." Julian closed his eyes. A tear slipped down his temple. "Thank you for everything, and I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry, Clara. Every day I see what I lost, and it was all my fault." Clara simply nodded. What needed to be said had been said. The revenge had ended long ago when she stood up and built her own future. Helping him now was not an act of reconciliation, but the final step toward her own emotional freedom. A few weeks later, Julian slowly recovered. Clara ensured he had initial and home care. She did not stay, but she did not abandon him completely. On her last hospital visit, before returning to Syria, Clara handed him a small envelope. Inside was a business card for Edward, the lawyer, and a handwritten note. "When you are strong, call him. He can help you restructure your life. Find work. I'm not giving you money. I am giving you the opportunity to show our son that you are capable of getting back up. Vengeance is destructive. True power is construction." Clara returned to Syria, to her successful studio renaissance and the life she had forged. She had won the war not only against Julian's betrayal, but also against the bitterness that threatened to consume her. She had used anger as fuel for her ascent, but she chose grace as her final legacy. The cycle of brutal revenge had ended, leaving a reminder. Clara's justice was Julian's ruin, but her final grace was her ultimate redemption. What do you think of this final confrontation? Do you believe Clara handled Serafina perfectly? Leave your final comment about this story of empowerment. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder of their inner strength, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. Until next time, epilogue, the unbreakable legacy and the new dawn. Welcome back. You've witnessed the brutal revenge and the final act of grace. Now see where life takes Clara and her successful Renaissance studio 2 years later. Hit like if you believe a woman's true value is the empire she builds for herself. Chapter 4. 2 years later, the Renaissance of Clara. 2 years after signing the divorce papers and carrying out the final act of mercy at the London hospital, Clara Reed's life had settled into a solid, vibrant equilibrium. Her interior design studio, Renaissance Rebirth, had flourished. It no longer just served the elite in Surrey and London, but had expanded to high-end resort projects on the Cornwall coast and the Aitha Islands. Clara's style was highly sought after for its unique blend of classic luxury and genuine warmth, a true reflection of her own character. Every successful contract was not just a business deal, but a vindication of the honesty and talent that Julian had once scorned. Arthur, her son, was now an active, intelligent little boy. His laughter was the only light and peace Clara truly needed. Shepherd herself into raising him, ensuring Arthur grew up in the stability and love she had fought so hard to secure. As for Julian Vance, the light Clara had lit had prevented him from completely collapsing. He had contacted the lawyer Edward and was slowly working to rebuild his career, from scratch through small consulting jobs. He no longer carried the arrogance of a billionaire, but was a humble man working hard. He diligently kept up with visits to Arthur. His relationship with his son was built on new respect and silent acknowledgement of his past mistakes. Clara recognized that over time genuine forgiveness had come, not through words but through Julian's actions. Lady Helen Vance, her former mother-in-law, and Clara remained close. Lady Helen frequently visited her grandson and was one of Renaissance's earliest investors, proudly boasting about her former daughter-in-law to everyone. One cold summer afternoon, as Clara returned to her Surrey estate from a client meeting, she received a text message. It was from Julian. Subject: Arthur's drawing. Clara, I just wanted to say I put up the new display stand for Arthur's drawings in my flat. Thank you for the opportunity. I know it's not about the money, but about showing me I can still be a respectable father. You taught me the most expensive lesson, and I'm grateful for it. Clara smiled. The revenge was long over. She had transcended the bitterness, used the pain as a springboard, and had finally achieved what Julian could not take away: true autonomy and authentic happiness. She looked out the window where Arthur was running across the lawn under the golden sunshine. She had won, not by destroying Julian, but by building an empire without him. Serafina Hayes and David, the London cafe owner, had faded from their lives. Like the toxic winds that had passed, they were merely faint names in the story of Clara's rebirth. Clara Reed, the woman once deemed too familiar and replaceable, had become an icon of resilience. She was proof that when others underestimate your worth, it is the perfect opportunity to reevaluate your own value. CTAs. This is the final conclusion to the story of revenge and redemption. What do you think is the biggest lesson Julian learned? Honesty or loyalty? Leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to support more stories of Renaissance. Chapter 5. The Unseen Justice. 2 years on, the quiet triumph of Clara Reed was complete. She had achieved a level of success that surpassed the superficial wealth of her former life. Her company, Renaissance, was now headquartered in a beautifully restored building in Knightsbridge. A poetic irony given Julian's former haunts. Clara's days were filled with meetings with genuine partners, creative brainstorming, and the joy of raising Arthur. She had peace at Demier's stability and an unshakable sense of self-worth. The narrative of Julian Vance had shifted from tragedy to quiet redemption. He was proving himself to be a dedicated, if humbled, father. He worked tirelessly at his new consulting role, embodying the lesson Clara had given him. The true value lies in honest effort. But what of Serafina Hayes, the woman who had happily joined in the destruction of a marriage? Serafina had found that her looks and audacity were insufficient currency in a post-Candle world. After her magazine exposé, which confirmed Julian's fraud and her gold-digging motives, she became socially toxic. The wealth she sought was now wary of her name. She attempted to latch on to other wealthy men, but the story of the Mayfair necklace and the Vanches candle followed her like a shadow. She couldn't escape the fact that she was the catalyst of a public ruin. She was forced to leave London and eventually ended up working in a low-profile job in a quiet European city. Her dreams of luxury shattered. Clara heard about Serafina's fate through Naomi, the private investigator, who occasionally checked on loose ends. Naomi simply reported, "She's gone, Clara. No longer a threat. The market for beautiful opportunists is always smaller than they think." Clara felt a fleeting moment of pity, quickly replaced by the realization that justice had been served, not by her, but by the natural consequences of self-interest. Serafina had been stripped of the only thing she truly valued, social standing and perceived worth. On a bright spring afternoon, Clara attended a prestigious design award ceremony. Her firm, Renaissance, won the coveted Designer of the Year award. Standing on the stage accepting the crystal trophy, Clara's smile was genuine and radiant. She looked out at the glittering crowd of London's elite, many of whom had once whispered about her heartbreak. She knew that the platinum necklace had never truly been the most valuable item in Thestory. The most valuable item was the foundation, and she had salvaged from the rubble of her life. She was free financially, professionally, and most importantly, emotionally. The story of the pregnant wife who became the Queen of Renaissance was complete. Her betrayal was her beginning, her son was her purpose, and her grace was her final unassailable victory. CTAs, this is truly the end of Clara's saga. Thank you for following her journey of brutal revenge and ultimate redemption. If you found inspiration in Clara's strength, please like and subscribe, share this video, and let us know what is the biggest lesson learned from the downfall of Julian and Serafina. In a